Good afternoon. This has been a wonderful experience for us in coming to Stinya University, sharing our thoughts with you and our colleagues and more than 1,000 people online around the world. As I mentioned in my opening remarks 2 days ago in the same room, the whole world needs more and better education. You may be among the very fortunate who have access to a quality education. But even the most fortunate in the best universities in the world know that what we are offering today is not enough to prepare us and our future generations for the challenges in the world that's coming. You will have the greatest opportunities of any generation in the future. But all the knowledge that we give you today won't be enough to fully prepare you for the changes that are taking place in the world. So we're talking about your future and the future of your families and offspring and those generations that come beyond you. We came here not to tell you something, but to share with you some questions and thoughts and hear back from you about your thoughts and your ideas about the future that can be made better than it is today. But you can offer an equally great value to us by telling us what you think, telling us what you doubt, telling us what you wonder, telling us what you want, and what you think we need, we meaning the world, as we go forward, the questions that are unanswered. We need your inputs. We need your feedback. That's why we've come here, so we can interact with you. Now, after 2 days and about 20 sessions, this session is kind of a very concise summary of what we think are some of the many important issues that have been discussed and viewpoints that we've been studying over a 10-year period. We cannot cover them all, but each of these speakers is going to talk a few key points that we hope you will think about, take home, and most of all, we hope you'll ask questions about and give us feedback about. So after this session, we're going to break up into 4 parallel sessions, one represented by each of my 4 colleagues here. One to talk about what should be the future pedagogy, what should be the future way of teaching and learning that will make it much more effective for you and future generations. What should be the content of that education that will better prepare you and those who come after you for successfully navigating, growing, prospering, creating, developing in the world that's changing so rapidly around us for all of us, wherever we are. So what should be the curriculum? How should it be changed? How should our mode of teaching change? What would make it more effective for you? What would make it more accessible to you? The third one is delivery system. The traditional delivery system in education has been going back more than 1,000 years in Italy, first university, somebody who's spent their lifetime collecting knowledge at a time where there are no printed books. They spent a lifetime collecting knowledge, and we as students get the privilege to listen to them for as long as they can talk until they lose their voice. And we write down and try to memorize what they said because they're the wise men. That was 500 years before we had the printing press. We've progressed a long way since then Because once books were available, we could not only listen to a professor who's spent his lifetime getting knowledge, but we could read the books of so many people and expand our knowledge inside the university and outside. And that went on for another 500 years until we had digital connectivity. And the whole library of the whole universe is available to us, records going back thousands of years. So we don't have to buy all those books, and they're not expensive printed books. But today, all of that's not enough. The growth of knowledge, the speed of change is so great that even if we could, which we cannot, study everything that humanity has learned until now, it won't be enough to prepare us. We all need help. We all need guidance. We all need advice to understand what's happening day after day, week and year after year. We need new delivery systems so that you don't complete your education and then spend the rest of your life just expressing and repeating what you heard. You keep learning every year. You keep learning new skills, new ideas, new knowledge, new opportunities from now on. So we need delivery systems that will take that knowledge to you all the way from now for the rest of your lives. And that's the delivery system. And finally, we need to see about how the organization of education in the world changes. From learning from one university or a group of universities or in a country which has a certain educational system. What about the rest of the world? And what about what's going on in the rest of the world? And what are the ideas and inventions and discoveries and cultural creativity in the rest of the world? How are we going to get that? We need a global delivery system that can make available to everybody the best of knowledge available to anybody. And that's the fourth of our discussions. So pedagogy, curriculum, delivery system, and the institutional organization for making that available to everybody in the world, free or at least at a low cost that's affordable in any language they want. This is what we are in quest of. This is why the World University Consortium was founded by the World Academy of Art and Science, and we've spent 10 years asking a lot of questions and looking for answers. We have not come to you with all the answers. We don't expect to give you all the answers. We would at least hope that we give you all the questions. So you go on wondering about this, and you go on looking for the solutions, and you can help us find those solutions, because whatever we find is limited by our age and generation and our own education. You're a new generation, a new age, a new culture. And we need an education for you and those who are going to come after you. So this is a partnership. We're going to share with you some of the insights we've gotten, some of the things we believe are important. We're going to ask a lot of questions. We're going to invite you to ask questions and answer and share whatever you want. So this session, 4 brief presentations, 1 hour, 4 different segments. You can choose whichever one you want: pedagogy, curriculum, delivery system, or the organization of education. And then we're going to have a special 1 hour session from 3 representatives of the United Nations Development Program. It's the largest UN program in the world. They have about 70,000 staff all over the world. They have a very big, important office here in Istanbul. And you're going to hear from them. They're people traveling all over the world all the time, looking to solve problems and opportunities. We've asked them, you tell us what you think the new generation should learn in order to be able to succeed, prosper, and contribute in the world that's coming. There's so much change going on. There's so much scope for confusion. Everybody's confused today. Doesn't matter how much education you've had. The world is changing so fast. Nobody has all the answers. But there's not only confusion, there's unprecedented opportunity. And I'm going to share with you for one example of that, then we'll start. One of our colleagues, a good friend of ours from Athens, who's co-chairing what they call the SDSN network. It's the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, almost 900 universities. She's the co-chair of this whole 900. She's studying on how to solve all the problems of the environment in Europe. And she says, all the money we need to solve our problems is there. All the technology is there, but we don't have the skills. And this is a message to you. She said, and they've studied, this is not just a made up figure. They've done massive surveys. They said in Europe, most educated place in the world, compared to except America, 85% of the skills we need to solve all our problems, we don't have people who know those skills. So what is the opportunities for you, your generation, all over the world, to go out and learn what we don't know, or what's not, what we've only discovered in the last 2 or 3 years, to help us solve those problems? We need you. The world needs you. The world needs your continuous learning throughout. So this is why we're here, and this is what we'll do for the rest of the afternoon. So I'd like to first start. This is Dr. and Professor Stefan BRUNNHUBER from Germany. He's both a physician, he's a psychiatrist, and he's also an economist and proficient in both areas. Stefan, please.
You know, education starts with an aesthetic experience, with the experience of a wonder, of a question, of an intuition. If we remain with the logical conclusions, it remains boring. I'm constantly come across the problem, what is called in education, the input-output fallacy. We put more and more money into the educational system. OECD countries, for example, tripled their input into the system, but the output is rather declining than increasing. And the question is, how can we change that? For example, measured in PISA points, the US has similar rankings than Poland, but the US spends about 3 times more getting the same results. Brazil has the same spendings than Finland, but Finland has about 100 PISA points more than Brazil. So there is an input-output fallacy we should address. And one way to address it is that we increase the amount of curricula we are creating. Garry mentioned it, about 1,000 years ago, we started with 10 disciplines. Now in the 21st century, we have 1,100 disciplines and subdisciplines. And we create another 500 of them. Does that really increase the output? Maybe we do something wrong in the way we treat ourselves in order to get that input into our brain and create the right output. And there's research done showing that about 1/4 of the output depends on the specific input, like teacher-pupil ratio, or how much you pay for the salary of a teacher, or equipment like tablets or internet. But 3/4 are not. 3/4 are happening with something else. And I'm going to refer to two aspects which happens between the input and the output, kind of the black box in between that makes the difference. Regardless of whether you study anatomy or astrophysics, whether you study architecture or acupuncture, it's not the curriculum. It's the non-curriculum, the non-cognitive parts that can make the difference in order to unleash the full creativity within each of us. There is empirical evidence done by 80 million students, 50,000 studies, 800 meta-analysis, asking the question, what works? Really, kind of what works? It's not the institutional factors. It's not the amount of money. It's the personal and interpersonal factors that oversteer by an effect size of 2 to 2.2 any institutional factors. It's about peer tutoring, learning by teaching, metacognitive training. And it's by something else that we could call the six-pack. The six-pack of education. I will give you a concrete example. Let's say you are, most of our medical students, you've got to learn a lot in anatomy, a lot of detailed data in anatomy. And what you're doing, you're sitting in your class and learn 45 minutes this anatomy class. It is, relatively speaking, inefficient and doesn't unleash the full creativity. You know how you should start? If you take findings in neuroscience and pedagogy and psychology into account, let's say 45 minutes, you start with 2 minutes of silence, full attention towards nothing. You learn 12 minutes your anatomy stuff. You stop, have 7 minutes of intramural power yoga. Do another 12 minutes of anatomy and end the hour with another 2 minutes of silence. And if you enlarge this into the question how to unleash the full creativity in each of you, it is not about having a specific talent. It's not about having fun or being happy. It's about unleashing what's within you. The way you have to learn is multisensoric learning. You got to get the right diet. If you eat the wrong stuff, your brain is not operating properly. You need the right exercise, yoga and others. You need the right rest and sleep and restorative sleep at night. No iPhone. You need analog social support. And with this six-pack, you can unleash the full potentials that are within you, regardless whether you study acupuncture, anatomy, or anything else. Isn't it exciting? There is this Nobel Prize winner, Max Delbrück, who was quoted with the sentence, you know, humans can change the world more than Caesar or Hannibal by sitting in a corner and thinking properly. This is what education is all about. It's not about fulfilling credit points. It's about unleashing what Germans call Bildung. I'm sorry, your language is much more accurate. Or psychologists call individuation, and science call it unleashing creativity. Thank you very much.
You'll have time in the next section for questions and comments on what you've heard. Now I'd like to introduce Amanda Ellis. I should call her ambassador. We don't anymore, but we should. She was ambassador from New Zealand to the United Nations. She's an economist that worked at the World Bank. She's a professor at the University of Hawaii and at the Arizona State University, which is the most innovative university in America. Amanda.
Teşekkür ederim. Thank you so much. Istanbul University, you are incredible. I have had the privilege of meeting some amazing students in the short time that we've been here. The organization has been fantastic. We are so grateful to be here with you and to have this opportunity to exchange. I would like to begin with a formal greeting in the Indigenous language of my birth island, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Enga mana, enga reo, enga rangatiratanga. This recognizes you all as leaders, as chiefs, rangatira. And as Garry said, the world needs you. Tēnā koto, tēnā koto, tēnā koto katoa. In this Indigenous greeting, we always repeat 3 times. Once for the ancestors who have come before, but whose spirit is always with us. Once for all of us present in the room who are agents of change. And finally, and most importantly, for the future generations to whom we bear great responsibility. And that is why I want to talk to you today about the critical importance of including sustainability and climate in the formal curriculum. As the United Nations Secretary General recently said, we are on a highway to climate hell with our foot on the accelerator. You all heard about the crisis in Valencia. You've heard about the crises globally. You've experienced some of the hottest summers on record recently. And as Garry so eloquently said, we have the money, we have the technology. What we need is both skills and with that knowledge, skills, the willpower for change. I'm very privileged now to work at what is the most innovative university in the United States, #1 for innovation for the past 10 years in a row, ahead of Stanford and MIT, and perhaps some of the better known universities. Arizona State University requires every one of our 181,000 students to do a sustainability module. It is compulsory. You cannot graduate without it. And recently, our president, Michael Crow, was named one of Time magazine's top 100 leaders for that very reason. We had a fantastic group of medical students in our small session yesterday, and the former Minister of Climate from Ireland asked the question, how many of you medical students have sustainability or climate in your curriculum? And the answer was 0. And he pointed out that in fact, because of the increasing problems with pollution from fossil fuels, that is an important part of medical knowledge and practice. So this knowledge is critical for all of us. And the good news is that the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, where many, many years ago I was a young economist, has now included in its PISA standards, which are the International Student Assessment Standards. By 2028, it will be compulsory for sustainability and climate awareness to be reported on by all OECD countries, in addition to literacy and numeracy. So there is a growing awareness about the importance of this. We talk also about the importance of skills, and we include internships as part of our curriculum. Very practical. We also include mentoring and menteeship. So you can both be a mentor and be mentored. And this is a lifelong practice that we hope will grow out of curriculum and be part of your lifelong learning. Now that we have artificial intelligence, AI, and online, we have around a quarter of our students learning online or hybrid. And we have partnered, for example, with big groups like Starbucks, if you drink Starbucks coffee, so that a barista can continue their education fully paid for in a hybrid format. So learning becomes lifelong. It's what we call K, standing for kindergarten, K through grey. And on our campus, we now have a retirement village where people who are committed to lifelong learning come, retire, and take classes at the university, as well as mentoring young people. So this commitment to lifelong learning is truly a lifelong commitment. I would like to finish with something very practical and inspired by the former speaker. I'm a yoga teacher with Deepak Chopra, and as he said, we should all be doing some yoga. So while you're sitting in your seats, I would like to finish our session with some chair yoga. We are going to salute heaven and earth. So I'd like everybody to bring your hands together in a salute to the sun and raise up above. Open your palms to the heavens and thank everybody for how brilliant Istanbul University is. And thank you, Garry, for the World Academy of Art and Science. Bring your hands together and that energy you can feel in the room from everybody, bring down into your heart center. Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you, Amanda, for the message and the energy as well. Our next speaker, we're very fortunate to have with us Ralph Wolff, for many years, presided over the, okay, I followed the order here, so we'll, whatever you prefer, we'll go then. Pavel, I'll take you then. Pavel LUKSHA is an educator in business leadership, business management, innovation, originally from Russia, now living in Serbia, and has traveled all the world working. He's the founder of the Global Education Futures, GEF, and a founding member of the World University Consortium, and a longtime fellow of the World Academy. And Pavel is never satisfied with the answers we come up with or the solutions. He's always looking for something better because he knows that education is so important. We can never do enough of it, and we can never get it perfect. We've got so much to learn, and he wants us all to learn. Pavel?
İyi günler. Good afternoon. So one of things that we are trying to understand here is not only how to improve the system that already is here, but to see what kind of system arises. And if we think about one critical disruption to education that happens right now, perhaps the first word will be artificial intelligence. And when we talk about the delivery, the idea of transferring knowledge from past generations to future generations, from those who know to those who don't know yet, we definitely see that artificial intelligence is the key disruptor, because what it does, it actually summarizes all of the knowledge we have, it integrates it, and it can present this knowledge according to your personal current level of understanding, your current level of demand. your precise questions that you might have. So if we think about the future of delivery system, the first answer will be yes, it will be very personalized and artificial intelligence based. On top of that, we probably won't see much only of what is happening in universities like this. One too many lectures where one professor or one lecturer stands in front of the audience, but we will see an opportunity for each of you and your next generation to learn from many experts, groups of experts, groups of peers, and so on, to learn from these expert systems and to share this knowledge in global networks. We will see the rise of what we can call live textbooks. So if we think about textbooks that are there now, these textbooks have been printed a few years ago. They still contain some truth, but they probably have not been updated. Can you think of a textbook that is constantly updated, constantly relevant in its knowledge with all the recent discoveries? So that is what we are facing already now. And the book that adapts to your needs, to your questions, to your context, learns with you. So that's one part of the story where we have a delivery system that is very flexible, much more flexible than it used to be. But it also, of course, puts the question of what will be the role of teachers. Will the teachers be, as they used to be, the holders of knowledge that transfer this knowledge into next generations? So that, and is that way of learning the best way of learning for each of us? Paulo Freire, Brazilian educator, already in 1960s started to ask this kind of questions, and he recognized that educational system is infused with what he called banking metaphor. So the idea that there is a bank of knowledge, and each student is like a cell in the bank. So the teachers put some deposit in the minds of students. Is that the most valid metaphor for how humans learn? So he thinks it's not, and many other people think it's not. We actually learn by actively engaging with questions that are really important to us. And if you think how many of your teachers in your school or in the university really touched you, you would probably not name every teacher. You will probably name a few. And if you think how different those teachers were from everyone else, you will recognize that these teachers somehow were awakening your passion, your interest. They helped you answer the questions that were important to you. They were not feeding you with what they thought was important. They were helping you discover what was important for you and help you connect with their knowledge. It's a different way of, I would not call it delivery. I think it's a genuine learning and learning together. So I think we need delivery systems, but I think we also need inquiry systems. We need discovery systems, because in the lifelong learning that my colleagues were talking about, the most important thing is keeping the lifelong passion for learning. And keeping the lifelong passion for learning is only possible when you see that learning is relevant to you. So the other important part, apart from getting access to this wonderful knowledge through massive open online courses, through artificial intelligence and whatnot, is cultivating your own ability to ask questions. And questions only arise not through your individual inquiry, they arise through your connection with other people. When you together try to understand, think about most fantastic experiences you have in hobby. Maybe some of you play games, board games with others, maybe you do theater, whatever you do. This is the activity you do with others, and you get passion for it. So cultivation of this passion in what we can call inquiry group or discovery group is the essence of learning. And this is where delivery is complemented with inquiry. And I think the future of delivery is moving beyond delivery. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Pavel. Our last speaker Dr. Ralph Wolff. Ralph has presided over the certification of some of the leading universities in the United States. That was his job as the head of the organization called WAAS, to go into the best universities, evaluate them, see how they could do better, and help others to acquire the same standards of education. And Ralph's a very important person for us because he keeps telling us that the best isn't good enough. And everybody deserves the best. And that means all of us need to be improving, not just in Western United States, but all over the world. And that's why we're here. Ralph.
Thank you and good afternoon, and it's been a real privilege to be here with you. I want to begin with a personal story why I'm here, because I have retired twice and I have flunked retirement. I'm here because my daughter came to visit me a couple of years ago, and I have two grandchildren, one who is going to soon turn 14, sorry, and no, 15. And 10, I have to get that right when I go home. And 10, and she said to me, "You're leaving us a world that's much worse than the one you grew up in. And what are you doing about it? And what have you done about it?" Well, actually, I've done a lot, but it's obviously not good enough. And I'm here to repair and to work for the future of all of you, but also my grandchildren. And so it's really important. So I'm going to just talk briefly about three words: transformation, collaboration, and certification. So we're all talking about transformation, which is moving from one thing to another, that's transformed, that's changed in character. So from water to steam or to ice. Well, transformation in higher education is very hard. My colleague just gave me the story of the joke of trying to change a university is like moving a graveyard. There is no help from the inside. And that is, nobody wants to change a university. You have big buildings, you have all of these set curriculum, you have faculty who have to produce research, and the rankings are based on the faculty's research, they're based on selectivity. This kind of transformation is hard, but it is happening. And one of the ways transformation occurs is by disruption inside as well as outside institutions. Small activities we saw from what Amanda talked about at Arizona State, that there are models of universities that are clearly innovating in different ways, but there are also things like Coursera or Udemy or University of People. Zschadraß, the founder, is going to present later today. Many institutions that have been founded. I'm working with two startups right now that are using AI in a way that is completely disruptive of the current system. And we have to build models outside the system to show those inside that it can happen. And many of the things that Pavel talked about is shifting from faculty-centered, research-centered to student-centered, curiosity-centered. Collaboration. It's not going to be one university. Harvard will not educate all the people in the world, and it shouldn't, because it's really designed as a premier research university. Within universities, it's amazing how little collaboration there is between schools and departments. They don't talk so much to one another because faculty are focused on their discipline. So like a human body, we need to learn how to work together. So the feet, the head, and the like. And so I would say the collaboration is critically important to build partnerships and to find those places where what the change is happening, where the change is happening, can be identified and then brought in. It is often said that change in higher education most often occurs by emulation, not by innovation. In other words, learning what other institution has done. So we'd like to take the best of Estonia and say, what are you doing that we could promote at the World University Consortium and at WAAS? And what can we bring from the Black Sea University Network and bring into Estonia? And the like. So collaboration and partnerships is critically important to help change occur. And finally, a certification. Regulation and certification of universities is one of the biggest barriers to innovation. I'm often been told we can't do that because we can't meet the medical board's requirements or the accreditation requirements. In Europe, there's something called the registry that every country needs to have a quality assurance system and it needs to meet the standards. Well, we need to redefine the standards of what is quality. And as we get forward and move forward with artificial intelligence, I envision a world in which much of the grading of your exams is going to be done by an AI agent. Already there are institutions, I don't know if you have a chatbot here, where if you have a question, you call up and you don't talk to a human. You interact with a chatbot. At Georgia Tech University, they developed 12 sections of a computer science course. 11 had a student assistant and the 12th was a trained chatbot. It was the chatbot that was found to be most popular with students. Gave the right answer more times than a human being. We're going to increasingly find these kinds of situations. So let me say that the biggest transformation is going to redefine what it means to be human for the future. As AI takes over more and more of our work, as an attorney, a former attorney, I can tell you the legal practice will be changed dramatically. Medicine is already being changed by robotization, right? By AI discovering, reading radiological X-ray reports and X-rays, assisting with cancer diagnosis, developing new proteins and genetic modification. What is going to distinguish us in the future, Amanda talked about skills, is going to be the habits of the heart. It's going to be the human qualities that interact. And in your world, I'll just say in the United States, there were studies done that said, what was the distinguishing factor that made doctors most successful? Their human connection to their patients, not their technical expertise, but their human connection. So I leave you with, we need to collaborate, we need to build on models that already exist, have the spirit to innovate and break down barriers to certification and regulation, not that they're not of worth, but to permit the kind of innovation and most of all, rediscover what it means to be human and develop that and connect more with the human heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ralph, and all of the speakers. Thank you, and look forward to hearing and learning from you.